G'day guys. A couple of changes here. Hopefully the sound should be better. I think I've worked out how to get the sound coming through the headphones here. Although I was wearing them in previous videos, obviously what was in fact happening is that my camera, my phone was doing the recording, so quite a bit of ambient street sounds as I drive about talking about fitness. So hopefully better audio quality this time. If not, we'll keep experimenting. So the topic for this video is that I want to talk about fatigue. Fatigue is actually one of the subjects that's caused me to feel like I've got something to say that I haven't really been hearing on other channels. So this goes to the name of the channel as well. So Jeffrey Verity Schofield put out a video a few months ago, which I will link, talking about basically different types of trainees and how they respond. And so he's got the first group who have a really big response to a training stimulus. If they, per set, they really grow. But on the other hand, they can't really do that many sets in a week. So they fatigue quickly, but they get a good training stimulus. He calls these people racehorses. He says, on the other hand, there are people who they don't get that much stimulus per set. Maybe they have to look at doing more intensity techniques, drop sets and the like. However, they can do a lot of that. And so he puts himself in that camp and says that that makes him a workhorse. And of course, there's the lucky few who respond very well to training and who can also do a ton of work. So such a person he calls a unicorn, aptly so. And finally, there's the last quadrant, who are people who they fatigue easily and they don't get a lot out of any given set or any given bout of exercise. He calls those people donkeys, which I just love, and that's really where I see myself as a lifter, as a gym rat. I'm somebody who has had to really struggle with the fatigue of lifting, and who has, for a very long time, until really getting a handle on this, not gotten a lot of results. I've stuck with it, and so I've got some stuff to share, because when your big enemy is fatigue, you do learn a bit about it. So what have I learned? The way that I think about fatigue is that it's different to muscle pain. It's different to DOMS. Fatigue is something that really seems to accumulate within your whole body. Certainly for me it does. So I've had training programs that I've run where, although my muscles felt fine and in fact were not really growing, after a certain number of weeks of training, whatever that was, eventually I would just be completely run down. In fact, it was not uncommon at all for me to get sick at the end of some of these training bouts, and this was in spite of really doing a lot of things right. Very regular with my sleep, very regular with my diet, and really not pushing my workouts to any extreme. But eventually, you know, the toll that was taking on my overall system would build up, and I would get sick, and I would not really get a whole lot of muscle for it. So one of the things that GVS suggests for donkeys, such as myself, is that they may benefit from high intensity training. So this is the Mike Mensa camp, people who go in and take a single set to oblivion, really mash themselves up. And I can understand why he would suggest that. This group of people really do talk a lot about recovery. Having said that, I've experimented with it, similar sort of thing, right? I get sore muscles training that way, but it doesn't really cause them to grow, and eventually I get tuckered out and I get sick. So what has worked? I'm very careful with the exercises that I select these days. So I really make sure to choose exercises where I can have really good quality sets. Exercises where you can get a really good stretch and a really good squeeze within the movement, and where you don't have to use a whole lot of weight. And then I don't take those sets to failure. Not usually. I mean, sometimes self-control fails. You can't help yourself, and you just you put it all into a set. But for the most part, I try to exercise a bit of self-control and wrap sets up before I get to failure. And I've got a real a heap of variety in the program. So basically, most exercises, they only get hit once in a week, and a lot of different variations on those main exercises, and then really not too many exercises, not too many sets, and not too close to failure. And that is what allows me to train in a way that is sustainable. And sustainable means that at the end of the week, you know, I might still be feeling a bit in my muscles, but my system as a whole is still good to go. I'm not at the point where my training is causing me to deteriorate. I'm still sleeping well, I've got a lot of energy, and I'm enthused about the gym. I'm ready to go. So that's fatigue, and I really find that I haven't been missing the sets to failure in terms of growth. In fact, things seem to be going quite well without it. And so how come I think that's the case? I think that when you use heavy weight and you go to failure, you do cause muscle damage. And that muscle damage causes your system to start releasing all the inflammatory markers, right? And it's the buildup of those which causes you over time to become worn out from your training. So high amounts of muscle damage, so your high intensity workouts do a whole lot of muscle damage. Compound movements can be quite exhausting for this as well. That is going to cause you over time to start to run down. You can get a good stimulus from an exercise without crossing that threshold where you're doing a whole lot of muscle damage. So if you're like me and you suffer with fatigue, you're somebody who seems to need a lot of stimulus to grow, but you also cap out quickly on your weekly volume, you really want to make sure that you're prioritizing quality reps as a variable on your sets, that you're selecting exercises that are exercises where you can achieve that quality, and then you want to go not so close to failure, right? The quality means really good mind-muscle connection, really feeling the target muscle, and really on each rep making sure that you get to that stretched position and you hold it, and you get to that squeezed position and you hold it. You're going to have to back off a bit on the weight in order to achieve that, especially as you start doing larger sets. It takes a little bit of mental there's some mental tricks that's involved with it, not least of which is finding the confidence to take weight off the bar. So that is going to allow you to stimulate the muscle without damaging them. So you're going to be able to trigger the muscle growth without stimulating the release of all these inflammatory markers, and that's going to allow you to build up over the course of the week enough stimulus that your muscles start to grow without digging yourself into a big hole on fatigue. And especially, if you're somebody who, maybe genetically you release more inflammatory markers, maybe genetically you just clear them more slowly and they build up, or you start to have side effects at a lower amount, whatever's going on with the biology of it. This is a way around that. This is a way to make sure that you're getting the stimulus that you need to grow without capping yourself off. So to anybody else out there who's a donkey lifter such as myself, I really encourage you to have a think about giving this style of training a go. It's worked really well for me. I get really good results with this style of training, and that's not something that I've had with any other style of training. Any other way of doing it, basically, I just get run down before I get results. So that's basically it for what I've got to say today. So if you're dropping in on the channel, I would encourage you, if you like this sort of content, if maybe this speaks to your training experience as well, drop a like, drop a subscribe. I've got a lot more ideas for things to talk about, so there's going to be plenty more content coming your way. Alrighty, thanks guys.